Thato is changing the face of women-led business in Africa and has been publicly earmarked by Bill Gates himself as an entrepreneur to watch on the continent. With a BA in brand management from Vega, Thato started her career in New York, working with American marketing guru Seth Godin. Upon her return, so she came back to the motherland, she founded Thato, a group of companies with interests in manufacturing and waste management, which has won countless awards for its first innovation, the repurposed school bags, which I'm really hoping you'll touch on because I'm very interested in this. Through her efforts to make a dent in the world, she has been recognized on numerous platforms, including being named as the Forbes Africa 30 Under 30 honoree in 2017. Right? And that's just the first one. She was also noted as the Innovator of the Year by Forbes Women Africa in 2016, the Elle Magazine Impact Award laureate across 6 continents, and in 2016, she became the youngest businesswoman at the age of 23 to appear on the cover of Forbes Women Africa. So I think that's a beautiful introduction, Thato. We're very excited to hear from you.
Thank you. We have 15 minutes. Okay. Thank you so much for the introduction. So when I got the topic, I thought about usually when you give a talk, they give an introduction which then puts you on the spot to rise to the occasion of what that bio reads. So for today, I thought, let me actually give you what Google won't give you, right? My bio, you can find it online. Continuous growth in your chosen career. I'm going to tell you 3 stories around using 3 things. If you make notes, I prefer speaking when people make notes. Make notes on your phone, write, because I believe that each and every single person that is here has lived whatever it is that they're sharing, and it costs something. The cost of that has been happiness, it's been pain, it's been all sorts of things. So you're getting it for free in 10, 15 minutes. So it's almost like something has gone on sale, this is the sale. Okay, so please write. I'm also Thato Kgatlhanye on Twitter if you're tweeting. Growth. So I think growth for me started off as understanding that I need to always be intentional about my success. I need to be intentional about my career. One of the first things, and this is the first thing I wanna share with you, is around having a vision. So these are the 3 things I'm going to share them. These are the 3 things that are going to ensure that you have growth. The first thing is around vision. My journey out of university, in fact I was still in university when I received my first opportunity to work. This was in New York with Seth Godin. My first paycheck was 20,000 Rand. 20,000 Rand, that was my first paycheck. I'd never worked a day in my life, not as a waitress, not as a promo girl. I'd never done any work, but my first paycheck was 20,000 Rand. That is because I had a vision. A vision around the type of person that I would be in order to best serve my community, my country, and my continent. So that vision allowed me to understand that in order to be the best in the world, I need to surround myself with those that are the best in the world and learn from them. So that vision was realized in me, receiving that opportunity. And when I did, after I received my first paycheck, I was asked to stay longer. I was asked, in fact, at the time, I think I was in my final year, and I had 1 semester to go. So I was in New York. I'd spoken to my institution at the time to say, let me do this internship, then I'll return. I'm offered a job, what decision do you make? For me, it wasn't about money. It was around what is important, what does my vision say to me? And I turned down a check that most people, even in my family, had never earned in the form of 20,000 Rand. And I turned it down and I realized that the dots will connect. The dots will connect. And I have to trust that my why is enough. And a lot of people, called me crazy. A lot of people called me insane. And I want to say to you that in your career, whatever plans you have, understand that enlightenment out of context is called crazy. Enlightenment out of context is called crazy. And so for me, I was enlightened in my thinking because for me, what was important was to put my head down and not be drunk in the ego that Anela was talking about. I need to put my head down and work. Most of us, especially us sitting in the room, are regarded as millennials. We're troublesome in the workplace because we don't want to work. We believe too much in our own hype. And the thing that I learned, and this brings me to my point around having a solid vision. Go look up how to create a vision board, not just any vision board. Let it not be about, ego. Let it be about soul. And when I say about the difference between the two for me is not so much about the materialistic things that we will see. Don't put on your vision board a house or a car and all these things that are outside of you. Put things that are around what does success feel like? These are questions that people don't ask. I mean, what does success feel like? Because you can have the big house, you can have the car with that specced out and still not feel successful. Understand what success feels like. Define it, give it words. And so when I came back to South Africa, the one thought around me accomplishing the vision that I had, it was around, it's not about ascending, it's about centering. Being centered in your purpose. And the most important thing about purpose is that you need to really define your why. If you have time, go look at Simon Sinek, who says, start with why. There's a TED Talk, go watch it. And really sit with those things and invest time in why do you want to grow? Because as we know, there are a lot of people that enroll for their degrees, they don't finish. There are a lot of people that go into interviews and they ace them, put them in the job, and 3 months later, you're giving HR a problem. So it's not about climbing, right? It's about centering. And so the next part in my growth was around voice. The voice that you have, right? So my voice taught me that I need to actually speak less, right? So only now I'm engaging in speaking publicly and actually sharing my journey. But if you had said to me, you've just come back from New York, please come share, I would have said no, because I believe that I still had a lot to learn, and so I had to put my head down and work. Put in the hours, have lessons, become a master of something before I could speak. Young people these days, do you know how many people start blogs a day? I mean, just on social media, everyone's doing a photo shoot, everyone is a brand, everyone has an opinion. And you ask yourself, when do we take the time to actually lead ourselves first, before we want to lead other people? Take the time to sit down. And when you do that, you actually become the type of person where I say, you start to live a life that is expansive and not expensive. And there's a vast difference. An expansive life is about stretching the capacity of your mind to think on a higher level than materialistic things. Because then you want to serve humanity, right? Then you want to look and find the gaps on how do I move humanity forward. We live currently in a country that is in a developing country, right? If you've had the opportunity to travel, you will know that if you go to Europe, right? There's certain cities in Europe, when you're there and you're in Johannesburg, you think to yourself, hang on, this is not too far off from what I know. And I always say, how do we as young people move the dial of having a developing country and say, how do we move that into being a developed country? The power that we've shown as Africans to do what I'm talking about comes in glimpses. So for example, we didn't have telephones in all our homes growing up, but now everyone has cell phones, right? We've leapfrogged so many things that developed countries went through. And it's like, what happens if more Africans invested their minds in living expansive lives and not expensive lives. You know, and as black people specifically, we deal with this issue, and yes, we can say, you know, we've got black tax, but what would happen if we took black tax as a way for us to teach our minds how to invest in each other, because we don't, right? So another thing that around using your voice, and when you start having that voice, when you speak less, it allows you, when you actually speak, you have something of substance to say. And that is also led by, and Anna spoke briefly about your emotional intelligence. So actually go read up on EQ. More companies are hiring people with a higher EQ, which is your emotional quotient, than they are hiring people with a higher IQ. Your emotional quotient says, what is your adaptability, your ability to adapt your emotions to your current circumstance, to be able to relate to others, right? So when you use that voice, your voice is backed by what? Your emotions. Emotions are energy in motion, correct? So if you think like that, and if your energy is placed into the right kind of almost like motion, then you're able, when you speak in any room, in any boardroom, in any opportunity that you have with other people, then you're able to actually get people to understand what it is that you're trying to do. The last thing about growth is that you will experience victory, right? But victory also says, you know, you have to give yourself the permission to live in the duality of your imperfections and your brilliance. So she may read my bio, it's brilliant, but I live with the reality of my imperfection. And for me, that's the most powerful thing, because it means that I need to, at all times, seek purpose and not perfection. Seek purpose and not perfection. Because when you go to bed at night, what I realize is that, you know, in building any business, I didn't get into this to be famous. I didn't get into this I got into this to serve. And that's what your degree does. It at the heart of it, it says serve. In whatever industry that you pick, serve. And the reason that you will be victorious is because you will understand that you're not in it to get approval. You're in it to get to be of service. And when you do that, you then realize that it's always important to be aligned, right, to service. And I will end with this. In every area of your life where you want to see growth happening, in every season of your career where you want to see growth happening, I think you must understand that in order to elevate, you need to separate yourself from the rest. Separate the way you think, separate the way you do things, separate yourself in how you engage with people, and that's how you elevate. And for me, walking this journey, I mean, I was with Anel, I don't know if she even remembers, I was with her in February, and the President Cyril Ramaphosa, awarded me with the International Youth Diplomacy Award, right? I wasn't doing this to get recognition from the president, but by mere fact that I was so interested in growth, more than I was interested in how much money I was getting, money will come, right? But what's important is that you serve, and you serve at a higher level. And that's all I have to say.